20 fads from the 1970s that might have slipped your mind. We'll start with a shampoo that smelled so good it became its own pickup line, "Gee, your hair smells terrific."
Gee, your hair smells terrific.
And end with a game that had kids following orders for fun. Along the way, we'll encounter rocks as pets, beans that jump, and drinks that were out of this world. But before we dive into our next 70s gem, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Trust me, it'll smell terrific. Gee, your hair smells terrific shampoo, a sensational 70s throwback. Starting off our list of the 70s fads you might have forgotten, let's lather up some nostalgia with Gee, your hair smells terrific shampoo. This fabulously named shampoo burst onto the scene, and it wasn't just the name that caught everyone's attention, it was the fragrance that could practically be sniffed out across a disco dance floor. Developed by the Andrew Jergens Company in the early 70s, this shampoo promised not just clean hair, but an olfactory experience so delightful that strangers might actually stop you on the street to compliment you on your sensational smelling strands. And let's be honest, in the 70s, who didn't want their hair to be their greatest conversation starter? This shampoo became emblematic of the era's flair for flamboyant products and branding, with advertisements featuring young, vibrant individuals flipping their hair in slow motion. It's no wonder it became a staple in bathrooms across America. It wasn't just about the clean, it was about the scene. Here's a little trivia for you. Despite its popularity in the 70s and early 80s, Gee, your hair smells terrific eventually faded from store shelves in the US, but it's still being manufactured and sold in the Philippines. That's right, a whole new generation is getting to experience the head-turning aroma that once wafted through American streets. Speak and Spell, the technological teacher of the 70s. Next up on our groovy list of 70s fads is the Speak and Spell, a device that not only entertained, but educated. Launched by Texas Instruments in 1978, this small, bright red contraption was a childhood staple for many, serving up spelling practice with a side of futuristic fun. Speak and Spell was notable not just for its educational value, but for being one of the first handheld devices to use a digital speech synthesis. Yes, long before Siri and Alexa, this little machine was talking to us, helping to spell difficulty without the difficulty. And yes, that pun is free of charge. This electronic marvel came with a keyboard and a visual display where words would appear one at a time for kids to spell. The robotic voice, which now sounds charmingly retro, was cutting edge at the time. It coached kids through over 200 commonly misspelled words, offering praise for correct answers and gentle corrections for mistakes. It wasn't just a toy, it was the cool teacher you always wished you had. And here's a bit of techno trivia. The Speak and Spell was based on the TMC 0280 chip, one of the first to use linear predictive coding to create human-like speech sounds. This tiny piece of hardware marked a significant leap forward in digital technology and opened the door to the voice-operated gadgets we take for granted today. Pet Rocks, the ultimate low-maintenance companion. Continuing our journey through the quirky world of 70s fads, let's not overlook the Pet Rock, a fad that proves just how far a great marketing idea can go, even if it's as simple as selling rocks. Invented by Gary Dahl in 1975, this fad was the epitome of low-maintenance pet ownership, ideal for those who found even a goldfish too demanding. The concept was brilliant in its simplicity, a smooth stone housed in a cardboard box with straw bedding, complete with breathing holes, for a rock. Each pet rock came with a manual on how to care for it, which was filled with humor and care instructions that were, let's say, less than demanding. Training your pet rock required no actual training, which was part of the charm. Commands like sit and stay were instantly mastered, though roll over was notoriously tough to teach. The fad took off like wildfire, making Dahl a millionaire almost overnight. Why? Well, it wasn't just about owning a rock, it was about the novelty and the comedy of having a pet that required nothing from you. The Pet Rock was a tongue-in-cheek critique of modern consumerism, pet culture, and the human tendency to follow bizarre trends, and it came at a perfect time, when people were ready to laugh at themselves a little. Here's a rocky trivia nugget. Despite the popularity of Pet Rocks, the fad was as durable as a sandcastle in high tide, fading away almost as quickly as it appeared. Yet it remains a cultural icon, symbolizing the weird and wonderful spirit of the 1970s. Kerplunk, the tense tower of marbles and sticks. Moving on in our roundup of delightful 70s fads, let's dive into the clattering world of Kerplunk, a game that turned the simple concept of gravity into nail-biting entertainment. Introduced by Ideal Toy Company in 1967 and soaring in popularity throughout the 1970s, Kerplunk was a staple in family game nights and children's parties alike, offering suspense in spades, or should we say, in sticks. The setup of Kerplunk was part of the allure. Players filled a transparent plastic tube with a web of colorful sticks, creating a precarious nest that cradled a bunch of marbles. The game's objective was deceptively simple: carefully pull out the sticks one by one without letting the marbles fall. The fewer marbles you dropped, the better your chances of winning. Each player's turn was a tension-filled spectacle, with onlookers holding their breath as marbles teetered on the brink of disaster. This game wasn't just about luck, it required a gentle touch and strategic thinking. Which stick could you remove to sabotage your opponent's next move? Which ones were load-bearing and which were decoys? It was a masterclass in suspense and strategy disguised as child's play. Here's a bit of playful trivia. Kerplunk was such a hit that it has been reissued multiple times over the decades, each time with slight modifications to design, but the same thrilling mechanics. Its enduring appeal lies in its simplicity and the universally relatable tension of waiting for the inevitable fall, the Kerplunk that gave the game its name. Pyramid Power, the mystical geometry of the 70s. As we delve deeper into our list of 70s fads you might have forgotten, let's explore the enigmatic allure of Pyramid Power. This phenomenon took off in the mid-70s, capturing the imaginations of those enchanted by the mystical and the mysterious. The concept that the pyramid shape itself could harness cosmic energies, offering everything from preserved foods to spiritual enlightenment. Pyramid Power was based on the belief that the geometric alignment of the ancient Egyptian pyramids could be replicated in small models to focus cosmic energies. People constructed pyramids out of cardboard, glass, or wire, placing various objects under them in hopes of tapping into supernatural benefits. Whether it was to sharpen razor blades, maintain the freshness of food, or enhance meditation experiences, the small home pyramids were seen as gateways to a higher vibrational state. The idea gained traction with books like Pyramid Power by Max Toth and Greg Nielsen, which became bestsellers, providing evidence and instructions on how to build and use personal pyramids. This was the era of exploring alternative spiritualities and New Age practices, and Pyramid Power fit right in with its promise of accessing an ancient and hidden wisdom. Here's a quirky bit of trivia. Despite numerous attempts to scientifically validate the claims of Pyramid Power, no conclusive evidence has ever been found. Yet the fad's popularity was undiminished during its heyday, fueled by a combination of pseudoscience, spiritual seeking, and the sheer appeal of having something so mysterious and cool looking in one's living room. Clackers, the clicking craze of the 70s. As we click our way through the list of unforgettable 70s fads, let's not forget Clackers, the toy that brought joy and occasional bruises to many. These simple yet addictive toys, also known as Kerbangers or Click Clacks, consisted of two acrylic balls attached by a string to a central ring. The goal? Swing them up and down to make them smack together above and below your hand, creating a satisfying and often loud clacking sound. Introduced in the late 1960s and peaking in popularity in the early 70s, Clackers were the quintessential playground accessory. Kids everywhere could be seen and heard furiously swinging their clackers, competing to see who could keep the clacking going the longest or who could make the loudest noise. The simplicity of the toy was key to its appeal, requiring just enough skill to make mastering it a worthy challenge. However, clackers were not without their controversies. As their popularity soared, so did reports of the balls shattering upon impact, sending acrylic shards flying, a clear child safety concern. By the mid-70s, safety regulations became stricter, leading to a ban on the original version of clackers. They were eventually redesigned with more durable and safer plastic to mitigate the risk of breaking. Here's a noisy tidbit. Despite their eventual fade from the market, the sound and fury of clackers left a lasting impact on those who played with them. The toy became a symbol of childhood exuberance and mischief, embodying the unregulated, wild energy of pre-digital play. Lemon Twist, the skip-it sensation of the 70s. As we spin our way through the kinetic energy of the 70s, let's not overlook the Lemon Twist, a toy that combined the simple pleasures of jumping with the challenge of coordination. This toe-tapping, brightly colored device was all about keeping the beat while keeping on your feet. The Lemon Twist toy consisted of a plastic lemon, or sometimes an apple or a ball, attached to one end of a flexible tube with a loop on the other end that you slipped around your ankle. The goal: swing the loop in a circular motion with one foot while hopping over it with the other. It was a test of agility, rhythm, and endurance, often turning into a sweaty but exhilarating workout. Marketed by various toy companies throughout the 70s, the Lemon Twist became a favorite for its playful approach to physical activity. It wasn't just a toy, it was a portable, self-contained game that could be played alone or in groups, making it perfect for those long summer days. The Lemon Twist encouraged kids to get outside, providing a fun way to develop coordination and physical fitness without the structure of organized sports. Here's a fun twist. The Lemon Twist was a precursor to the more widely known Skip-It toy of the late 80s and 90s, which added a counter to keep track of skips. Both toys relied on the same basic principle, but the Lemon Twist's simplicity and vibrant design made it a distinct icon of its time: paper fortune tellers. Diving into another nostalgic wave from the 70s, the paper fortune teller, also known as a cootie catcher, stands out as a charming example of childhood imagination and craft. This simple origami creation was a staple of schoolyard games, offering kids a glimpse into their futures with a mere flick of the fingers. Constructed from a square piece of paper, the paper fortune teller featured various colors and numbers on its folds. Players would choose a color, spell it out while manipulating the device, and then pick a number to reveal their fate, typically a fortune, challenge, or a whimsical prediction written inside. The intrigue was in the unknown, the thrill of discovering what secrets lay beneath the flaps. These paper contraptions were more than just a game. They served as a social tool among children. They sparked conversations, facilitated play, and even helped in making decisions, ranging from the trivial, like who would be it in a game of tag, to the crucial, such as who had a crush on whom. The paper fortune teller was a childhood oracle, delivering answers wrapped in the art of paper folding. A bit of folded fun. The origins of the paper fortune teller are not well documented, but similar forms of origami have been part of Japanese culture for centuries. The adaptations seen in schoolyards across the globe in the 70s reflected a broader trend of cultural exchange and adaptation. Simple paper transformed into a vessel of curiosity and joy. 8-Track Tapes, the soundtrack of a decade. Stepping back into the sonic landscape of the 70s, let's tune into the 8-Track Tape, a true icon of audio technology that defined the era's listening habits. These chunky cartridges offered a new way to experience music. Portable, durable, and endlessly loopable, they brought the favorite tunes of the decade straight into cars and living rooms across the country. Introduced in the mid-1960s, 8-Track Tapes hit their peak popularity in the 1970s. They were the preferred format for many because of their convenience. With 4 programs of 2 tracks each, they allowed music lovers to skip to different sections of an album with a simple push of a button, a novel feature at the time. 8 tracks were particularly popular among car enthusiasts, as they made car stereos a common place to blast the hits of the day. From rock and roll to disco, the format's ability to continuously play without the need to flip or change the tape appealed to those on the go, making every road trip a mobile party. Here's an intriguing note. Despite their popularity, 8-Track Tapes had a reputation for less than perfect sound quality and were known for their tendency to switch tracks mid-song. This quirk added a unique charm to the 8-track experience, even if it occasionally interrupted the musical flow. Lawn darts, the controversial game of the great outdoors. As we continue our exploration of 70s fads, let's look at lawn darts, a game that brought a competitive twist to backyard gatherings. These heavy, metal-tipped darts were designed to be thrown toward a ground target, mixing the excitement of aiming skills with the thrill of a well-thrown dart landing in its intended spot. Lawn darts, or jarts as they were affectionately known, involved players tossing the darts into a circle or similar target area from a set distance. The appeal of the game lay in its straightforward mechanics and the immediate feedback of a dart hitting the mark, similar to playing horseshoes but with an added aerial dimension. However, the design of lawn darts, which included pointed tips to ensure they stayed planted in the ground, led to concerns over their suitability for all ages. These concerns prompted discussions about appropriate settings and rules to ensure everyone's enjoyment and well-being while playing. In the late 80s, significant changes were made to how lawn darts were marketed and used, reflecting a growing awareness of maintaining safety while preserving the fun and competitive spirit of outdoor games. Billy Beer, the brew that bubbled with presidential charm. Pouring right into another unforgettable fad from the 70s, let's raise a glass to Billy Beer, the beverage that promised a taste of presidential family life, but ended up more as a historical footnote with a frothy head. Created and marketed by Billy Carter, brother of President Jimmy Carter, this beer wasn't just another lager. It was infused with the charisma and controversy of its namesake. Launched in 1977, Billy Beer capitalized on the novelty of Billy Carter's public persona, an everyman's man who loved a cold beer and had the unique platform of the White House lawn, metaphorically speaking, from which to promote it. The cans boasted, "Brewed expressly for and with the personal approval of one of America's all-time great beer drinkers, Billy Carter." Despite the buzz from the White House connection and Billy's colorful character, the beer itself was met with mixed reviews. Some called it a smooth sip of the South, while others declared it about as flavorful as a glass of Capitol Hill tap water. The novelty wore off as quickly as the foam settled and sales started to dwindle. Here's a sudsy snippet of trivia. Billy Beer became a collector's item almost immediately after the company ceased production in 1978 due to its presidential association and the quirky story behind it. Unopened cans of Billy Beer can still be found today, cherished more for their novelty and nostalgic value than for their contents. Nerf Ball, the soft revolution in play. Bouncing into the playful spirit of the 70s, let's catch up with the Nerf Ball, a soft, colorful sphere that revolutionized indoor play. Introduced by Parker Brothers in 1969, the Nerf Ball was the very first product in what would become a vast and varied line of Nerf toys, famed for their safety and versatility. The Nerf Ball was initially marketed as the world's first official indoor ball, claiming that you could throw it indoors without a care. No broken windows, no knocked over lamps, and definitely no tears. This simple concept was a hit, making Nerf balls a must-have in households where energetic play and precious home decor needed to coexist peacefully. The beauty of the Nerf ball lay in its simplicity and the soft foam material from which it was made. It was light enough to be thrown by the smallest of hands, but durable enough to withstand countless games and roughhousing. The soft foam wasn't just about preventing household chaos, it also made the game inclusive and safe for players of all ages, encouraging active play indoors without any associated risks. Here's a fun bounce of trivia. The name Nerf is rumored to come from the foam padding used in off-road racing, which was referred to as Nerf bars. Parker Brothers adopted this term, seeing the potential for a line of toys that mimicked the safety and softness these materials offered in the rugged world of racing. Waterbeds, the wavy wonder of the 70s.
Daddy, can I have a waterbed? Please, Daddy, can I have a waterbed?
Floating through our exploration of 70s fads, let's dive into the undulating world of waterbeds. Introduced as a novel idea for sleep and relaxation, waterbeds became a hallmark of modern, free-spirited living during this vibrant decade. Originally developed in 1968 by Charles Hall as part of a university project, the waterbed quickly surged in popularity as people embraced its promise of a futuristic sleeping experience. Marketed as the ultimate in comfort and support, waterbeds conform to the user's shape, distributing weight evenly and reducing pressure points. This made them especially appealing to those looking for a touch of luxury in their everyday lives. The allure of waterbeds went beyond mere comfort. They were a symbol of status and a nod to the growing counterculture movement of the era, often associated with psychedelic decor and the free love ethos. With their gentle, rocking motion, they promised not just a good night's sleep, but an escape into a floating, dreamlike state. Here's a splash of trivia. Waterbeds accounted for about 15% of the mattress market by the late 70s. They were so popular that even Playboy Mansion had a room with a waterbed covered in Tasmanian possum fur. Despite their initial splash, the popularity of waterbeds eventually waned. Issues such as maintenance, the difficulty of moving them, and the risk of leaks dampened their appeal. By the late 80s and 90s, more conventional mattresses regained their footing in the bedroom. Dashboard Hoola girls, the swaying sentinels of the 70s roads. Cruising down memory lane to another whimsical fad of the 70s, let's take a moment to appreciate the Dashboard Hoola girls. These charming figurines, adorned with grass skirts and an infectious smile, danced their way onto car dashboards everywhere, bringing a bit of Hawaiian flair to even the most mundane road trips. Originating as a novelty item in the 1950s, the popularity of dashboard hula girls peaked in the 70s as they became synonymous with road trip culture and the era's love for kitsch and novelty. Mounted on springs, these figures would gently sway and shimmy in response to the car's motion, offering a serene companion to drivers and a delightful distraction to passengers. The appeal of dashboard hula girls wasn't just their enchanting dance. They represented a slice of paradise, a dream of tropical beaches and leisure that contrasted sharply with the daily grind or the backdrop of a traffic jam. They were a token of escapism, a small reminder that somewhere the sun was shining and the waves were waiting. Here's a humorous twist. While some might consider the dashboard hula girl a trivial piece of decor, to others she was the essential co-pilot. According to some drivers, a journey wasn't quite complete without their hula girl nodding along to every turn and bump in the road, offering silent approval and a sway of encouragement. Mexican jumping beans, the quirky crawlers of the 70s. Leaping into another curious fad from the 70s, let's explore the peculiar world of Mexican jumping beans. These fascinating little wonders weren't just a toy, they were a marvel of nature cleverly packaged and sold as a playful curiosity across the globe. Mexican jumping beans originate from the wild shrubbery of Mexico, where a tiny moth larva inside the seed of the plant causes the bean to twitch and jump unpredictably. This natural oddity became a popular novelty item, especially in the 70s, as kids and adults alike were captivated by the seemingly magical beans that moved on their own. The beans were typically sold in little plastic boxes or bags, often accompanied by colorful artwork and instructions on how to care for your new pets. The care was simple: keep them warm to make them active and cool to calm them down. This simple interaction provided endless entertainment as people watched in fascination, waiting for the beans to make their sudden jerky movements. Biorhythms, the cosmic strategy behind a Super Bowl victory. As we continue our jaunt through the 70s, the quirky fad of biorhythms not only captivated those intrigued by personal and cosmic cycles, but also remarkably influenced professional sports, particularly a Super Bowl victory. This intersection of metaphysical belief and athletic strategy uniquely characterized the adventurous spirit of the decade. Biorhythms proposed that people operate on 3 cyclical patterns: physical, emotional, and intellectual, each dictating periods of high and low performance. This theory migrated from personal wellness circles into the more competitive arena of professional sports during the 70s. Notably, the Dallas Cowboys, one of the NFL's powerhouse teams, incorporated biorhythmic predictions into their training regimen. Under the innovative vision of Coach Tom Landry, the team employed these charts to purportedly predict player performance, strategizing their plays and training schedules around these cycles to optimize player effectiveness on game days. The pinnacle of this practice was seen when the Dallas Cowboys harnessed biorhythmic theory in preparation for their victorious Super Bowl game. This application of biorhythms was seen as a blend of cutting-edge science and intuitive art, matching physical strategies with the invisible rhythms of nature to gain a competitive edge. While there's a mix of skepticism and endorsement for the impact of biorhythms on such a high-profile win, the Cowboys' exploration of this concept is a testament to the era's experimental and holistic approach to human potential. The team's willingness to integrate this unconventional tool into their strategic planning speaks volumes about the 70s. Cultural openness to new ideas, even in the traditionally conservative realm of professional sports. Cork Pop Guns, the popping pastime of the 70s. Shooting back to another beloved 70s fad, let's pull the trigger on memories of Cork Pop Guns, the epitome of harmless mischief and childhood cowboy fantasies.
Shooting shell fanners and holsters carry the true stamp of the Old West. And every boy will walk tall when he wears a holster and pistol.
These toys, as much a staple of kid arsenals as bikes and baseball mitts, offered a bang of excitement with every pull of the trigger, minus any actual bang up. Cork Pop Guns were brilliantly simple: load, aim, and pop. A cork tethered by a string would burst forth from the barrel, propelled by a spring, only to comically dangle at its zenith and swing back, ready for another round. The pop was satisfying, echoing through backyards and alleys, a sound that signaled play rather than peril. Fashioned from bright plastics, or sometimes nostalgically crafted to resemble the wooden muskets of yore, these toys perfectly suited the wildly imaginative play scenarios scenarios of kids. Whether channeling their inner Al Capone or pretending to be the sheriff in town, children could navigate the fantastical perils of their imaginations with just a pop gun in hand. Here's a corker of a fact: despite their playful intent, Cork Pop Guns also occasionally served as introductory lessons to real-world responsibilities. "Don't aim at your sister" was a common parental refrain, echoing the teachings of safety and respect that accompany real firearms, albeit in a much lighter, more whimsical context. Tang, the astronaut's drink that conquered Earth. Let's stir up some nostalgia with Tang, the vibrant orange drink that rocketed from kitchen cupboards to the moon in the 70s.
Doc, we only serve Tang here.
Tang? What's that?
It's new, natural orange flavor Tang. Greater than ever for breakfast or any other time.
Marketed with a space-age twist, Tang was not just another breakfast beverage. It became synonymous with astronauts and cosmic adventures, even though it was enjoyed by earthbound folks just as much. Tang first appeared in the late 50s, but truly soared in popularity when NASA adopted it for the Gemini missions. Its inclusion in astronaut meal packs catapulted Tang into the limelight, making it a must-have in every household. It was the drink that brought a taste of the space race to breakfast tables across America, letting kids and adults alike start their day with a glass of astronaut-approved vitality. The allure of Tang was partly due to its convenience. Just mix the brightly colored powder with water and voila, an instant vitamin C packed drink that claimed to offer more than just hydration. It was marketed as a futuristic health drink, vibrant in both color and flavor, which could make anyone feel a step closer to their cosmic dreams. Here's a fun sip of trivia. Despite its association with space missions, Tang was not actually developed for NASA. However, its spaceflight connection made for a stellar marketing campaign that helped cement its place in popular culture. Sea monkeys, the magical aquarium pets of the 70s. Diving into another whimsical fad of the 70s, let's revisit sea monkeys, the enchanting underwater pets that captivated the imaginations of children and adults alike. Promoted as instant life, these tiny brine shrimp were sold in packets that, when added to water, would magically come to life, offering a private peek into an aquatic ballet right in your living room. Sea monkeys were actually brine shrimp eggs that lay dormant until hydrated, a fact that was spun into a fantastical marketing story. Advertisements promised a family of playful, loving creatures that could perform tricks, follow your movements with their eyes, and even, according to the more imaginative ads, rise from the dead. The reality was somewhat less dramatic, but no less fascinating, as the shrimp would hatch and swim around, providing endless fascination. The kits usually came with a small tank, packets of eggs, and food, along with instructions for care. Kids could watch their sea monkeys grow, interacting with them through the clear walls of their aquariums. This offered a form of pet ownership that was both low maintenance and mildly educational, as it introduced basic concepts of biology and responsibility. Here's a humorous scoop. Despite the fantastical claims, sea monkeys didn't wear crowns or engage in synchronized swimming, and their castle was often just a plastic backdrop. Yet this did little to diminish their appeal, as the joy of watching these creatures grow was real magic enough. Simon Says, the flashing game of memory mastery. For the final rewind on our journey through the 70s fads, let's illuminate the memory testing marvel known as Simon. Debuting in the late 70s, Simon wasn't just another electronic game. It was a circular oracle of lights and sounds that challenged users to recall increasingly complex sequences. This game turned memory drills into hypnotic fun, captivating players of all ages. Simon featured 4 colored buttons, each producing a specific tone when lit. The game's premise was straightforward but deceptively challenging. Simon lights up 1 or more buttons in a random order, and players must replicate the sequence, relying solely on their memory. With each round, the sequences grew longer and more complex, testing the limits of concentration and recall. The genius of Simon lay in its simplicity and the universal appeal of its challenge. It didn't require game pieces, boards, or even physical skill, making it accessible to virtually anyone. The mesmerizing combination of bright colors and distinct sounds created a sensory experience that was as addictive as it was frustrating. Here's a playful twist. Simon gained a reputation as the party game that could silence a room, with players holding their breath as they tentatively pressed the colored pads. It was not just a test of memory, but a battle of nerves. Simon's impact on pop culture was significant, representing the era's growing fascination with electronic entertainment and digital technology. It was a precursor to the more complex video games and gadgets that would dominate in the decades to follow, paving the way for the gaming revolution.